Chapter 13. "What you got in there, girl?" Paul asked the next day, peering over my shoulder in the hallway. "Gonna dynamite the school or something?" He laughed, as if he knew more than he was saying. "Nothing. Just some old gym clothes." He'd caught me stuffing my backpack, loaded with the new armbands, into my locker. I tried to look innocent, but my face burned hot as I slammed the locker door and twirled the combination. "Gym clothes, huh? I'll just bet." I thought, he knows all about the Saturday meeting at Juan's, and our fight with the G4s. Either I'm paranoid, or he also knows exactly what I was hiding for Wednesday's rally. "Ready for the beauty contest?" I asked, changing the subject. "Oranges don't talk to blues unless spoken to. See you in class, Amy." "Be good." He sauntered down the hall, turning once to smile knowingly at me. It seemed that most of the school had heard about our run-in with Brian and Mary. You could sense a difference. I read a kind of grudging admiration in the way some people smiled or said hello. Even the G4s and the higher colors acted differently. During the whole morning, not one of them stopped me to bow or show my journal. When we passed, they looked away or through me, as if I didn't exist. Being ignored wasn't any pleasanter than being challenged for every little thing. Just before Oteros class, I met Gwen in the restroom. She hadn't spoken a word to me since I was demoted, so I washed my hands and combed my hair and studiously avoided looking at her after the expected bow. "Only 4 more days and the game's over," she said, watching me in the mirror. "I know. It's been interesting." "It's all right. You can talk. I won't report you." "What do you want to talk about?" I turned around to face her. "Did you hear what happened Saturday?" "I did. But be careful. Something's going on. Otero's been huddling with the G4s. They're going to stop that rally, somehow." "Would you tell me if you knew how?" Gwen hesitated, looked away for a moment, then said, "Maybe." "Why? You're suspicious because I'm a blue? Because I told you I like being top dog?" I shrugged. "I didn't say I would," she said. "Only maybe. I never thought those white dudes you hang around with would get anything from this game, but it looks like they're beginning to understand how it is for us a lot of the time. So, maybe." "Well, if you do hear anything..." "Yeah, I'll think about it." "Well, on to Oteros class," I said. Being nearest the exit door, I should have left first, but Gwen was a blue. For an awkward second, all that the color game stood for passed between us. Then I made a sweeping gesture to indicate she had the right of way, and she shook her head briskly so that her beaded braids clicked together. "Go ahead, girl," she said. "Orange before blue." We laughed, and the two of us pushed open the door and went out together. Gwen walked beside me until we came to the hall leading to our social studies class. Then, without a word, she abandoned me and joined the other blues. I understood. What had passed between us in the bathroom had had a tinge of conspiracy. Maybe Otero had set her up to it, but I preferred not to believe that. It was too easy to mistrust everyone in this game, and I wanted to trust Gwen. Adam, Troy, and Dana and the other oranges and some light greens waited together, talking. The G4s watched, but didn't stop them. I think we all expected Otero to bring the axe down on us as soon as class started. He could fine us, embarrass us, maybe fail us in the class. But it didn't seem to matter anymore. You had to have an iron stomach to rise in the color game. You had to be nicer than nice, more willing to please than a child before Christmas, and so prideless that you'd bow and scrape to those you even resented. After a while, you just didn't care anymore. You wanted to make waves somehow, so the injustices would be noticed and maybe righted. And if that didn't work, I didn't know what. When no one listens and hopelessness seems to have no end, how do people get rid of anger? "In case you've all forgotten," Otero began when we'd all been seated, "today is the No Tech Beauty Contest." I let out my breath in relief. In my worry over how Otero might deal with us, I'd almost forgotten about the contest. And instead of starting class with a tirade against the lower classes, Otero acted as if nothing had happened. "Oh boy," Adam groaned behind me. I reached a hand back to comfort him. His hand, always warm and firm, was icy. "I noticed the male population in class is quite a bit below normal," Otero said. "It will be interesting to hear the excuses for absence tomorrow." Without quite knowing how the contest would work, I felt uneasy for Adam and the rest of the males, the no-techs. It seemed demeaning to be put on display for their body build and looks. "To put this into perspective," Otero said, rubbing his beard, "our no-tech beauty contest is a ploy to open you men up. Most of you have no idea how sexist you really are, nor how vulnerable women feel." "Ah, come on! Women aren't helpless. It's the men who are. Women have all the power. They can say no," Justin cried. "How often have they said no and men took advantage anyway?" Carol called out. "If you're talking about rape, I think they ask for it. The way they dress and act." "Boo!" The room rang with irate techs jumping up and crying out at Justin. He put his hands up to his face, laughing, as if he expected to be clawed to death. All right, enough. Let's see how the no-techs feel when they're treated like females." Otero had us move our chairs into a circle, leaving a large space in the middle. All the females, regardless of color, sat around the inner ring of the circle. Of the 16 boys normally in class, only 10 of them had shown up. Brian made them stand at the door according to height, then turned on a tape recorder. We all began to laugh. The music coming from it belonged in a striptease show. Adam's face turned bright pink. Justin fidgeted. Juan and others struck sexy poses, rolling their pant legs up to expose their hairy legs, or standing with hands on hips and heads raised in their version of self-assured beauty queens. It was really funny, and pathetic too, in a strange kind of way. "All right, no-techs, get those gorgeous bods out there for the judges to see." Juan really got into the spirit of the thing. He bumped and swayed to the suggestive music and smiled seductively at each of us. Adam walked around with a forced smile on his face, as stiff as a board. Justin dug his hands into his pockets and slunk around, looking sullen. Almost strutting, Paul slowly unbuttoned his shirt down to his waist and grinned with pleasure at us. "Way to go!" one of the girls called out. "Look at those buns. That one's got a pot belly. Come on, guys, don't bunch up like that. Let's see that gorgeous meat." I cringed, ashamed at some of the shouted commands, embarrassed to be part of this. After a few turns around the center of our circle, about half the contestants were eliminated. They walked away, relieved, to sit behind us. Adam, Justin, Paul, Robert, and Juan remained. "Hey, honey," Carol sang out to Justin. "Don't hide it. We love the way you wear your pants. Open your shirt a bit more." Justin's face turned red as a tomato. Reluctantly, he began doing what Carol asked. Some of the girls whistled like boys do. A couple of them sang. "Take it off! Take it off!" cried the techs in the rear. Justin tossed the shirt across the room and crossed his arms over his chest. Adam started to laugh. He began unbuttoning his shirt, and the others followed. Soon, all the no-techs were marching around, bare from the waist up. Paul rippled his impressive shoulder and arm muscles. Robert's hairy chest brought comments about ape ancestors. I wanted to run to Adam and put my arms around his strong, tanned body. The judging started. Too flabby, boobs too big. Justin was eliminated. No style. Robert, sit down. Bow-legged. Juan took a seat. Soon, only Adam and Paul remained standing. Adam's face was flushed, and he kept his arms crossed self-consciously over his bare chest. "What's beauty without brains?" Mary asked. For the final judging, we'll be evaluating the remaining contestants on their intelligence and personality. Chairs were drawn up so that Adam and Paul faced the panel of G4s. How do you justify no text, low threshold for pain? Mary asked, reading from a card. Is it biological? Absolutely, Paul said, grinning. Oh, come off it, Adam protested. Men can take pain just as well as women. The G4s conferred, then made marks on a sheet. Mary turned to the next question. What about no-tech's emotional outbursts? How come they can't control their emotions as well as techs? That's not true, Adam exclaimed. Oh, sure it is, Paul said. It's our hormones, you know. He winked at Adam. A ripple of laughter went around the room. Some of the girls who came to class wearing baseball caps threw them in the air. One last question. Does the fact that techs, women, can give the gift of life make you feel inferior? Of course not, Adam said. Where would they be without our seed? Everyone booed him, and Paul said, Sure, it makes me feel inferior. What's a little old seed compared to the amazing experience of giving birth? Thank you, no-techs. You may leave the room while the judges make their decision. In moments they were back. Adam looked bewildered, crushed. He must have realized Paul would win, but couldn't understand why. Paul was properly crowned and draped with a scarlet satin cape while we sang the Miss America pageant song. He took it well, grinning and chuckling, loving every bit of the attention. Well, how did that feel? Otero asked next. Justin? Still think women ask for it? Justin mumbled something unintelligible. Otero put a hand to his ear. Say again. I felt like a slab of beef. Women feel that way a lot of the time, Carol exclaimed. Yeah, we can't walk down the street without you guys checking us out. You whistle and leer and practically salivate. How did you like us looking you over the way you do all the time? How did you like being called honey and having Carol put an arm around you? Otero asked Adam. And how come you techs haven't used your power all through the game to show the no-techs what sexism is all about? Mary challenged. Questions and answers flew back and forth for the rest of the hour. Adam said he'd been made to feel inferior for the first time in his life. Justin admitted how he'd never realized how men said and did things that could really hurt women. Several girls, including me, talked about how hard it was for us to put down the no-techs. It made us feel unfeminine. When the class ended, we walked out according to our color groups, still separated. But most of the talk went on. The girls giggled and whispered about how the boys looked, and the boys seemed in a great hurry to get away. Before we parted to go to our next class, Adam said, I don't know how to treat you anymore. Have I been very awful, very sexist? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being highest, you rate pretty high. About 8, I said, teasing. 8? He looked disappointed. Honey, it's very simple. I touched his cheek lovingly. Just do unto me as you would have, etc., etc., and you can't go far wrong. His eyes crinkled into an amused smile. Okay, I get the idea. From now on, I type my own papers.